So, Holly, once schools have monitored birds in their school grounds and assessed the different types of habitat that they have at school, what can they do then?
Well, everybody has done an amazing job as citizen scientists. They've done their bird surveys, they've done their habitat assessments, they've collected really important data. It's time to do something with that data and develop their action plan. So an action plan is what you're going to do on your school grounds to help birds. Now, each school is going to have a different action plan depending on what they've found. So you need to investigate what type of birds you've got, what they like to do, where they like to live, what they like to eat, and see how you can create a better place for them.
So, Holly, once schools have actually assessed the habitat in their school grounds and found that one site may have a lower habitat score than some of the other sites in their schools, what can they do to enhance the bird diversity in that area?
Look, wherever possible, the best thing to do is to actually put plants in the ground. Birds love plants, and so by planting out some areas, you're going to be providing lots of places for birds to go to.
So, what kinds of plants should we be thinking about planting in our school grounds?
There are a whole range of things that are available. There's all sorts of different plants in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. If you can try and put different layers of vegetation in, you're going to be providing different places for birds to go. Some birds like being up in the tops of trees. Some like hiding out in the shrubs and only coming out occasionally. Others, like maybe the Australian magpie, you see them out in the open, foraging on grass, looking for food. So if we can provide different layers all the way up in our school grounds, we're providing lots of places for birds to go.
What have we got here, Holly?
So Liz, this is a plant that's been put in the ground a few months ago. This is a Kunzia ambigua, which is known as a tick bush, but don't worry, it doesn't actually have ticks on it. It's a beautiful shrub that grows to about 3 or 4 metres tall and is perfect for providing lots of shelter spaces for small birds, and it's also great for attracting insects. Now, it's a plant that we call locally native to the Sydney region. Right. By locally native, I mean just that. It's a plant that was here naturally before all our buildings and roads and things were. Wherever possible, it would be great to put locally native plants in your school grounds. Your monitoring results might show that your school has a rubbish problem and it's encouraging some unwanted friends onto your school grounds. It's not uncommon for certain bird species in urban areas to become a pest due to problems with waste management. The Australian white ibis is a perfect example of this. Their long beaks are ideal for digging food from soft soil in the wetlands, but it also means that they're well suited to extracting food from garbage dumps and from open rubbish bins. Like any sensible animal, they appreciate a free feed, and this is what we've provided by way of food left over at recess and lunch times on our school grounds. Rubbish dumps are especially attractive to ibis, as each day tons of food scraps are deposited here for them to scavenge. Australian white ibis, like people, congregate where the services are the best. Landfills like this one are important for cities like Sydney. They provide a place for our waste to be deposited and carefully managed. But what happens when rubbish doesn't end up in the right place? When we leave rubbish on the ground or when bins can be easily accessible by birds, birds in the school grounds can become a pest.
What can we do then to control this problem, Holly?
Well, of course, the first step is going to be putting your rubbish in the bin. Sounds simple. But of course, it's not only your classes that are leaving rubbish around the school grounds, of course, it's going to be the whole school. So maybe you need to think about talking to friends from other classes or even making an announcement at your assembly, talking about what you're doing and how you're trying to better the school grounds by cleaning it up. It's not only the rubbish that lies around though, you need to think about the bins that you've got on the school grounds. An open top bin is just going to be a place where all the birds can congregate and pick out all the yummy bits of goodies that they want to eat. So think about bins with really secure lids, investigate those options and see if you can find a way of getting the birds to stop raiding the rubbish bins.
There are some other simple steps that schools can take for birds on their school grounds, such as providing clean water to birds. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, Holly?
Sure. So some of our schools are really, really lucky. They've got a natural water source on their school grounds. There's some great schools with some beautiful creeks. For most of our schools, though, we're not that lucky. There are things you can do, though, and the best way to put water on your school grounds is to put in a bird bath, or 2 or 3.
So how do birds use bird baths, or why are they beneficial for birds?
Well, as the name suggests, they're a bathing place. A place where birds can get nice and clean, they can get rid of any little bugs and things that they've got on them, they can make themselves look beautiful for potential mates, but they can also drink out of it. It's a really important source of water for them for drinking. If you're bathing in it and you're drinking it, means the water's got to be really clean. So you have to make the effort on your school grounds to make sure that the water supply for your birds is always kept in really good condition.
So whereabouts would a school be able to go to buy a bird bath, Holly?
There are all sorts of places. So any good hardware store or nursery will have pedestal baths like these. These are glazed terracotta baths. Otherwise, you could have a go at making your own pedestal bath if you like, or even just a plant saucer with some chain attached from the tree branch is a beautiful bird bath.
Nest boxes are another way that we can support birds in our school grounds. Could you tell us a little bit more about nest boxes, Holly?
Sure, Liz. Well, nest boxes are an alternative to a natural tree hollow. There are lots of birds that will use tree hollows to lay their eggs and raise their chicks, but it takes trees about 100 to 150 years to be big enough and old enough to form hollows. We don't have many of those on our school grounds that are available for birds. So nest boxes are the alternative we can provide them. They're our man-made hollows, if you will. But just like different people like living in different shaped and sized houses, different birds like living in different shaped boxes. So we really need to do our research, investigate what birds we've got on our grounds that might like using nest boxes, and then consider what shape they require. So, for example, this is a parrot box. It's your pretty typical nest box that most people think of, and it's great for an eastern rosella. This one, though, is one that people might not have seen before. This is actually a nest box for a kookaburra.
Whereabouts would we be able to purchase or acquire a box like this if we chose to put one up in our school grounds?
Well, if you want to build your own, the Birds in Backyards website has got plans and instructions for a whole range of different nest boxes. So that might be an activity that you want to take part in. Otherwise, online you can buy kits, you can buy them fully assembled, so you just have to have them put up for you. Otherwise, I'd suggest contacting some local community groups. So maybe there's a local men's shed nearby or even a local scout group that are great at building nest boxes.